Hello and welcome to MindSpeak on Herald Global. I am Saimik Sen and joining us today, one of the most popular Indian chefs who has also hosted Masterchef India, Chef Ajay Chopra. First of all, thank you so much for taking out your time and welcome to Herald Global. I would like to begin by asking you, how did the pandemic affect you personally and professionally?
Well, I think the pandemic has, left no one. It has affected everyone in some case or the other. In my case, I would say that the pandemic has actually made us stronger, think larger, and think different. Personally, I think it's been a great time because before pandemic, my life was in a manner like a very nomadic life. I would travel
Sure.
3 to 4 days a week, and my children could hardly see me, but I think from the last 2 years, I think they're the happiest bunch, and they enjoy me being around them, and still working, they're still studying, and still things are happening. But daddy's at home, so I think that's one thing personally. So as a family, we've gotten much closer, and it has really impacted the relationship bit in a long way. In terms of professionally, I think we had to change course. The company that I own is called Zion Hospitality Private Limited, and
Sure.
Zion's major responsibility was to curate restaurants, and we did about 24 restaurants in about 2.5 3 years, from 2017 till 2019. And as soon as the pandemic hit us, the consulting bit kind of came to a grinding halt. We also had another outlet in Capgemini, which was shut down. Still seems to be closed. So yeah, business-wise, that end kind of stopped, but God clearly spoke to us, and He said that one brook will dry and the other will open for you.
Very
And
true.
so we started to dwell upon, what are the things that we are doing, and we started to collect things, and uh, the content creation bit was something that I was doing before pandemic also, but wasn't doing it so effectively and so aggressively. So I think we started doing that. Now we have our own studio. We are launching our own cooking app, cooking academy app. It's an online learning model, and
Sure.
we've got a YouTube going, and lots of other content creation pieces going at the same time. So yeah, it's been great. It's been rewarding. It's been busy. It's been hectic.
Okay. So, how did you see your interest in the culinary world? How did it all begin?
I think every skill begins with the love for it, and my love for it started very young when I was about 9 or 10 years old. I can't remember exactly, but my mom was one day very unwell, and she's the one who loves tea, and so I could see that at 4 p.m. when she has her cup of tea, she was not able to get up. So I went inside the kitchen and made her that cup of tea, and that brought tears in her eyes, and I was like, yeah, I mean, this is something which brings happiness to people. So I started to kind of just be there around her, learning a bit. And then when time went by, I realized that this is kind of slowly brewing up as an interest. But there were many things clouding me up as a normal Indian, growing up boy, parents wanting to be, engineer or doctor. And
Sure.
so I studied for 2 years for entrance exams, but never got through. And hotel management was the only entrance that I got through. I went to my dad and I said, "This is it. You know, this is what I got through." So dad said, "Okay, let's do it." And dad supported me. Mom wasn't very supportive of it at that time. But then when I reached the hotel school, I think a month or month and a half later, I was extremely sure that this is where I want to be. So I think this is where it began.
Okay. So, can you tell us about your signature dish?
Well, I
I'm
think
sure you must be having many.
yeah, I mean, so this question turns out to be very difficult to answer many
Sure.
times because, the thing is that, when you're creating something with your heart, you tend to sign every dish that you're making. Now, the
Sure.
whole idea of signature dishes started to come about where, there was a large menu, and then, guests would find it very difficult to order and pick up one. So they would ask the chef, what is your best dish? And then the new name came as your signature dish. Okay, so the signature dishes started to kind of come about as a vogue. But I think every chef, when he creates a dish, and he signs on that plate, literally, with a sauce or with a garnish, he literally signs that plate. He approves of it. He attests it that this is the best dish that it could go out. So even from a basic dal tadka to a, to a bhindi, to a chicken kokowe, or maybe a galawat kebab. Each of these could be a signature dish, because that's what I believe about signature.
So you have worked with eminent personalities like Gordon Ramsay. So how was the experience working with them?
So I think the web is very, it's got a very delusive way of approach. I never worked with Gordon Ramsay. I've rubbed shoulders with Gordon Ramsay. Rubbing shoulders and working are two very different things. So
Can
I worked
you?
in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in London for about 3 years, and there used to be a place where all the restaurants would come together, and this was called the Taste of London, and the Taste Festival is very famous in London, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Australia, and so every year, taste would happen, and so this particular taste, Gordon had come in, and he was actually visiting all the stalls, and so I was standing with Chef Atul Kochar, and we happened to meet him. Now
Sure.
that was like an interaction, but I think even in that interaction, which has happened with Marco Pierre White as well when he came to India, I think what you realize is that these chefs are filled with aura, because they've done so much in life. People relate to them so much, and they do. So I'm
So
saying that
would
the experience of meeting up with eminent personalities like these tells you that how far you can go, and it only makes a roadmap much wider, and it gives you a direction that, yeah, there's a long way to go still. So I think that's what works out when you meet such people. But yes, I have worked with a lot of you know big names, I would say. So I have worked with Kocher. I've kind of known Vineet Bhatia very well. Worked with Cyrus for a little while. So all these names are big in the London industry, and I was very fortunate that just in about 2 years' time, there was this article which was written by a big London tribunal, which was called as the Eight Great Indian Chefs, and I kind of took it as a very big thing for me that in 2 years' time I was sitting with and rubbing shoulders with chefs who had spent like 10, 15 years in London. So chefs like Cyrus and Atul Pocher and Vivek Singh, these guys were there. So the Eight Great article also featured me.
so you have so much of experience. My question to you is, what is the major difference in the taste buds of people say in from India or as compared to abroad? So when you're cooking something.
Well, I think typically what happened with me, and it's an interesting story, that I was the chef of saffron in JW, and seemingly a good Indian chef who knew his skills. And when I reached London, for the first 6 months, I continuously failed. And there was wrong comments, bad comments on the food. The food's not good, the food's too oily. And I was wondering, I said, this food is like, revered in India. Now these guys are saying that this food is not good. So
Exactly.
I started to go out and meet each and every customer, and then that's the same feedback came to me. So I went to Chef Atul Pocher, because he was kind of a mentor there, and I said, what is it that I must do to survive in London? And he said, Ajay, you have to understand where you are. These people love their meats. They know their meats. They want to taste chicken as chicken. They want to taste fish as fish. They don't want to taste chicken as chicken tikka masala. They want to taste the chicken, and they want to taste the makhni sauce. So for them, the flavor is important, but the flavor of the main thing is important. So that kind of started me to think. I said, wow, so people in India have a different taste profile, because हमारे मुंह में पानी आता है when we see a galati kebab, when we see something brewing and stewing together,
True, true.
the oil floating up, that's the visual orgasm that we have. But for those people, something greater on the plate, where the meat is sizzled well, or rotis, cooked well, or roasted well. Those are the things that excite them, along with the sauce. So, that's where the differentiation of the food comes in, and the taste
Sure.
buds.
Okay, so is there any philosophy behind your cooking style? What is the philosophy, if you have one?
So the present philosophy that I'm operating on is regional. The first pillar is regional. There is a lot of strength on Indian food. And our flavors are complex, are complicated. If we start talking the language what the international chefs talk, they will possibly find the next plane out and say there's no place for us, because
Sure.
our flavors are really, really complicated. I mean, and complex flavors make a dish complex, and complex dishes is what people we admire. So wow, depth of flavors, this is happening here. Now a chicken chettinad, for example, or a galati kebab, for example, has a mix of So galati is a mix of about 36 spices. Chicken
Okay.
chettinad is a mix of about 17 spices. Now mixing these 17 spices can go horribly wrong, but mixing of the 17 spices in the right amount can actually bring about a dish where the whole uh, you know conundrum of houses can be smelling it and say, oh, what is happening, in that house. So
Sure.
that's the beauty of our food. दाल में तड़का लगता है तो 3 घरों तक पहुंच जाता है कि हाँ दाल में तड़का लग गया. So that's our food. And the other, the whole world says that food is smelly. And come on, you are excited by your 5 senses, and this is what we are.
True, true. Very true. So, how did MasterChef India, how did it all happen?
I think it was just God. I can't take any credit to it because it actually just happened. I was sitting in my office, and one fine day, this was in Goa when I was the executive chef in Goa Marriott. One of the phone calls came. One of my commies came to the office and said, "Chef, there was a phone call for you." So I read the slip and it said some media company. So I called my PR manager and I said, "Would you take care of this?" And an hour later, she came running and she said, Chef, Masterchef is coming to India. I said, so what do I do? So they want you as a judge. I said, oh, okay, let's talk. And so this is how literally it happened. And then they had an audition and then they cleared the audition. So I think it was more destiny, God ordained, than anything that I can think of.
Okay. So, during this pandemic, most of the people, they work from home primarily. So, do you have any kind of a suggestion in terms of the kind of diet they should maintain, like, which should be healthy because there is not too much of activity or exercise?
No, so my suggestion to everyone is that firstly, don't give up because a lot of people are giving up. Say, "कितना खाना बनाना पड़ेगा और कितने दिन और when will I
True.
go to the restaurant?" See, I've seen this as a personal change in my life that I would travel a lot and I would eat out a lot outside. Now, there's nothing wrong in eating outside. I mean, this is what the restaurant business we are in. But eating 3 times a day at home definitely has put my weight down considerably because you're not eating junk, you're not feeding on extra things, and you're not getting lured by any of those extra oily things and all that. But you're good eating good simple food. Now the very fact that people today are saying, okay, I'm having a sedentary life, I'm not working out too much. I think each one has the opportunity. We can go for a walk in the morning and go for a walk in the evening. If time permits, you could at least do once. And eat a balanced meal every day. And I think Indian food is very balanced. So if you're having a dal roti sabzi or a dal chawal sabzi every day, in lunch, having a lighter breakfast, maybe a poha or a upma, or maybe a paratha. I mean, it's just that we are not टाइम है तो चलो रोज कचौड़ियां बन रही हैं, रोज पूड़ियां तली जा रही हैं, वो भी नहीं होना चाहिए. It should remain the way it was. Once a week you can splurge on something good, but most of the time you can go on with a nice quick something which kind of fills you up. Oats is great. Variety of oats dishes are available today. Millets are great for breakfast. So any of the rice dishes like idli dosas are great because they keep you light. They don't kind of bloat you up. And I mean, during lunch, there are a lot of people who only like chapatis, and there are people who like only rice. So it totally depends on them. Evenings, try and keep it light. Since you're at home, since the control factor is there, I don't have to go for a board meeting at 6:45 and that will finish at 9. Those things aren't there happening right now. So you can possibly finish your dinner before 7. If that can happen, I think 50% of the challenge is already taken care of. So these are some tips that we could possibly use.
Those are great tips. Thank you so much. So, my last question to you: what would you like to tell those aspiring chefs in India?
Well, I firstly want to say that don't worry. I firstly want to encourage you that yes, the pandemic is here, but the world's not come to an end right now. Okay,
Yes.
it is coming to an end. It's a sign that it's coming to an end, but it's not come to an end right now. You have finished your graduation, you have finished your hotel school, or you've finished whatever course you have, or maybe you are very new in the industry and you wanted to become a big chef. I see it in this manner. I know a lot of people who failed in their in their primaries and their secondaries, um, and today they are very professional, very exceptionally successful people. Um, And when they look back, they actually have a good laugh. Arey yaar, I failed in the fifth standard. You know, so that's how you kind of take it. Here, the whole world is failed. The whole
Yeah, true.
the whole world went came to a grinding halt. So I can't compare my book of accounting from 2019 to now, because 2019 I did something else. 2020 I'm doing something else. 2021 might be bigger or better or smaller. How does it matter? But I think the pandemic has taught us one thing, that you can't compare everything orange to orange. You know,
True.
you have to compare in real time. And I think this is a good test to all of us, that we can compare this real time. This is the moment these aspiring chefs can gather a lot of skills. The internet is filled with skills. YouTube is filled with skills. I'm launching 3 videos every week